अरिहंत सिद्ध सुर उपाध्याय साधु सर्व अर्थ के प्रकाशी मांगलिक उपकारी है। तीन को स्वरूप जानी रागते भई जो भक्ति काय को नमाए स्तुति को उच्चारी है। धन्य धन्य तुम्ही से काज सब आज भयो कर जोरी बारंबार वंदना हमारी है। मंगल कल्याण सुख ऐसो हम चाहते हो मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। हो मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। So today we are going to start with Samadhi Maran or Sallekna. As the name suggests, Samadhi Maran is a peaceful death. Other names that are used here are death in equanimity. That is what we are going to use everywhere, death in equanimity. Then it is also called meditative death. Then it is also called death in meditative equanimity. All these are synonyms for this Samadhi Maran or Sallekna. Okay. So basically it says about the death, but in actuality it is not about the death. It is how you live the life. Okay. So the whole discussion changes the moment we switch the meaning of Samadhi Maran from death to life. How do we live governs how do we die. So if the whole life we have lived with equanimity by practicing discriminative knowledge, manifesting right belief, right knowledge, right conduct, then even if you die in the ICU, if you die uh, solitarily alone, still it is a peaceful death, because the principles that you have learned through this Tattva Gyan that are all there with you at the time of death, and you will be able to execute a peaceful death irrespective of what's happening outside, immaterial, because the soul's life is not the life that we live outside. Okay, soul's life is different from the life that we live outside. Okay, so the basis of peaceful death is peaceful life, right? Discriminative, practicing discriminative knowledge, right? So if you are practicing this in day out, then your death is peaceful. Otherwise, the whole life, if you have not studied the scriptures, if you have not understood these principles or doctrines in Jainism, if you are not applied, if you are not able to apply those in your day-to-day life, then your life itself is a chaos. It may be that from outside, because of the rise of auspicious karma, you may have all the facilities, you may have all the comforts, right? But that does not guarantee a peaceful death. Peaceful death's basis is your present life should be peaceful. The whole life should be peaceful based on the practice of discriminative knowledge. You should be able to connect to your soul time and again as the situation demands. Okay. So if you have done a mastery over that, then you are assured of a peaceful death irrespective of the outer outcomes. Okay. So first statement that I would make about the peaceful death, that it is not about the death, it is how you live your life. Samadhi. Samadhi means samta bhav. Samta bhav means vitragata, detachment, passionlessness. Okay. So basically this is the true religion. Okay. So in order to get a peaceful death, you need to live a peaceful life based on manifesting detachment, passionlessness, happiness in all situations. You have to learn tricks to be in happiness in all situations in your day-to-day life. So if you are able to execute that, then your death is peaceful. Okay. So this is the first statement that I would like to make about this Samadhi Maran. What would be the second statement? The second statement would be that before the body leaves you, you have to leave the body. What does it mean? You have to renounce the body before the body leaves you. What does it mean? By practicing discriminative knowledge, you should develop an understanding that the soul's life is your life, not this body's life is my life, right? So if you are able to practice this discriminative knowledge, then you will be able to leave the body before the body leaves you, and that is in true sense the peaceful death or death in equanimity. Okay. So this was the second statement that I want to highlight. Then there are other things that we are going to study, but these two things appeals me most because this is the basis on which death in equanimity can happen. If you have not good with these two things, discriminative knowledge and the lifestyle that we want to live, where every now and then you are applying this Jaina doctrines and making your life peaceful in every situation. The situation may demand that you have to manifest anger, pride, deceit, greed, but because of this learning, you are not manifesting those. That is called the peaceful life. That is called the life in equanimity. And when you live a life of equanimity, automatically that is also in equanimity. Okay. So now the whole discussion will be about how to live a life in equanimity. Okay. So that would be the essence of this topic, And of course, there are other things that has been discussed here, that this is basically a vow. Okay. So we have 12 vows of a householder. So this is the additional vow along with that 12 vows. In Tatvat Sutra, in the last sem we studied in the 7th chapter, aphorism number 22 and 37. It deals with this Samadhi Maran, Sallekna. It's a vow. Okay. In aphorism number 22, it is shown as a vow. So we have 12 vows, fundamental vows, minor vows, you can say. And in that, the first one is about the right belief, and the last one is about death in equanimity. So in total, we have 14 vows. First one starts with the right belief. Then, of course, we have those 5 minor vows. Then we have 3 Gunvrat. Gunvrat is vows of attributes. And then we have 4 Shikshavrat, learning vows. Okay. In this way, 12 vows are there in between. And those who follow these 12 vows, they get this peaceful death, death in equanimity. That would be the 14th vow. Okay. So there are 14 different transgressions for each. Okay. So each vow have 5 transgression. So that has been discussed in aphorism number 37 in Tatvat Sutra chapter number 7 that we have studied in the last sem. Okay. So these are the basis. So basically this vows of Sallekna, the death in equanimity vow, ideally belongs to a lay person, 5th stage lay person, Jnani Shavak. Okay. They are the true holder of this Sallekna Vrat. Okay. Vow of death in equanimity. But Avrati Shravak, those who are in the 4th stage and those who have not manifested the 4th stage itself, for them this is a learning. Okay. So we will study this very deeply, and time and again I would point out important points to be highlighted. Otherwise, this is a very normal kind of thing. You have already studied in Tatvat Sutra. This is bit in elaborate form. Okay. The page numbers are not given in the textbook, but you have to put page number. This is number 1. The page number shown in the screen is page number 1. So alternatively, you can give page numbers 1, 3, 5, 7 like that. I had given like that. So we can connect on the page numbers if the need be. Otherwise, it's okay. You can do it later on also. Okay. So we start with the discussion. In the light of the Agam. In the light of the Agam, when they say, that means they will be giving you different references which have been available in the scriptures written by acharyas, then scholars, Panditji, Vidwan, all these references have been given. So this is a very discussed topic. There was a author, Champat Rai, he was in London. So he wrote uh, books on Samaisar and other scriptures in English. He was the first to translate into English. Okay. And then he came back from England and he said that there is no possibility of a peaceful death, Samadhi Maran, in UK. So he came back to India for this particular Samadhi Maran. So this is of course a very important vow for a uh, lay person in the fifth stage, and those who are in the fourth stage also, they will learn this, and those who are not in the fourth stage, even in the first stage, it's a good learning for all of us. This will bring in a detachment from sensual pleasures. When you talk of death, when you talk of those situations, then you realize that life is so short. We are all here for a few moments, considering the time that we have been wandering since time immemorial. This present birth of 60, 70, 80, 90 years is absolutely, we can say, a blink only. Okay. So then we feel that what is the use on uh, quarreling and, getting involved in unuseful things, So this brings in a detachment to the sensual pleasures and other activities that we do without any purpose. This will also tell you that in this life you have a purpose. So you don't get distracted from this purpose. There would be many attractions coming every now and then, but you have to decide where you want to get involved in. Okay. So this is again a very eye opener, creating good awareness about the purpose in our life for this birth. Okay. Uh, okay. This is all about the introduction. We will get onto the textbook. Himali has already shared. Uh, we will begin with Amitaji. You read.
In the light of the Agam, Samadhi Maran, death in equanimity, or Sanlekhana, renunciation of body to preserve dharma. Mental afflictions are called Adi. Physical ailments are called Vyadi. And external disturbances arising from worldly associations are called Upadi. To merge into the pure nature of the soul, free from all three, Adi, Vyadi, and Upadi, is called Samadhi, absorption of tranquility. Adi, Vyadi, and Upadi are all forms of discord. They do not contain joy or peace. They are filled with restlessness and agitation. In contrast, the nature of the Supreme Soul, Bhagwan Atma, is devoid of restlessness and agitation. Therefore, to become absorbed in one's true nature, which is Samadhi, is Dharma, the true religion of the self, Atma Dharma. To leave the present embodiment and enter the next is called death. The simultaneous disassociation from all of the associations of the present embodiment is what is termed death. Although this death is essentially just a disassociation from worn out bodily associations due to the illusion of identity, ekatva buddhi, the sense of ownership, mamatva buddhi, and attachment, even the mere thought of parting from the body and its association causes this ignorant soul to become agitated and disturbed. Thank you, Emily. The wise ones who truly understand the nature of reality regard themselves as entirely distinct from all associations, such as the body and its attachments. Therefore, they do not experience sorrow at the time of separation from the associations. Even if, due to the rise of conduct eluding karma, charitra moha, a little sorrow does arise, it is merely an infinitesimal fraction compared to the sorrow experienced by the ignorant. The enlightened, who always remains in a state of equanimity, are natural knowers and observers of all such associations, and from the perspective of faith, Shraddha, they dwell perpetually in samadhi, absorption in the self. Whether it is the transformation, parinaman of the self or of others, maintaining equanimity toward all the transformations in the world is called samadhi, spiritual composure. To remain free from feelings of liking or disliking in all transformations of the self and others is samadhi. To think this should happen and this should not happen, such desire is in a way a form of craving or longing, nidana. Nidana is like a thorn, it is painful. Meditation, artha dhyan. If such craving exists, how can samadhi be present? When death is accompanied by samadhi, it is called samadhi maran. Death in equanimity. Another name for samadhi maran is sanlekhna. Regarding this sanlekhna that takes place at the end of life, Acharya Samanta Bhadra writes in the Ratnakaran Sravakachar in the chapter titled Sanlekhna, the sixth chapter, Upsarge Durbikshe Jarsi Rujaya Cha Ni Pratikare Dharmaya Tanu Vimochana Mahu Sanlekhna Marya. In the face of unavoidable calamity, famine, old age, or illness, when there is no means of remedy, renouncing the body for the sake of preserving dharma is called Sanlekhna by the noble ones, Aryas. In a sense, when such affliction arises that death is near and there is no appropriate means of escape, when a famine, scarcity arises, and it becomes impossible to sustain life through pure and ethical means. Thank you, Emily. When old age makes it impossible to live without violating the principle of nonviolence, or when an illness occurs that cannot be treated through nonviolent means, then, in such situations, for the protection of one's dharma, renouncing the body in a manner prescribed by the scriptures is what noble and wise individuals called samadhi maran or sanlekhna. If afflictions such as calamities, famine, old age, or severe illness can be countered, then one should first attempt to counter them, undergo treatment, and apply suitable remedies. If, however, no non-violent and harmless means remain available, then one should be then one should, in accordance with the procedure prescribed in the Jainagamas, undertake samadhi, the practice of peaceful spiritual absorption at the end of life. It should be noted, just as it is inappropriate not to undertake salekna in the appropriate circumstances, similarly, it is also inappropriate to undertake salekna when remedies are still available. In fact, doing so becomes an even graver transgression because it would then fall under the fault of suicide, Atmaghat. Now, a question may arise, but isn't this a form of suicide? And isn't suicide a graver sin than even the killing of other living beings? Answer. Sanlekhna or Samadhi Maran is not suicide. Suicide is typically committed in a state of extreme mental disturbance, driven by intense passion, kashayas. In contrast, Sanlekhna is undertaken after deep reflection, with full awareness and discrimination, while gradually and peacefully weakening the passions and the body. It is not undertaken when no other viable path, sorry, It is only undertaken when no other viable path to live righteously remains. If any treatment within the boundaries of our vows is possible, there is no entitlement to undertake sanlekna. When death becomes inevitable, and with a deep sense of equanimity under the guidance of a competent guru, to consciously and formally letting go, renounce the body, this is what is called samadhi maran or sanlekna. To give up the body here means to remain detached, knower, observer of the natural separation of the body. It does not mean doing something to hasten death. It simply means remaining in calm awareness, in pure witnessing. The body's transformation is bound to happen. It is universal and timeless truth. The essence of Sanlekha lies in accepting this truth, and before the body leaves us, we should be prepared to leave it. This is a sensible thing to do. The practical form of this wisdom is called Sanlekha or Samadhi Maran, death in equanimity.
Stop.
In the ref,
Stop. So this
Mhm.
much we will first understand. I think most of the things we have covered and you must have understood. But still, I would like to highlight some of the points. Okay. So what is basically death? To leave the present embodiment and enter the next is called death. Means to leave the present associations and get into the another set of association is death. Okay. The soul never dies. So soul is eternal, right? But this life of us is for a fixed period. The moment we got a birth, our death is fixed. It cannot be increased, it cannot be decreased. Before the birth, there could be, you can increase or decrease depending on the sentiments that you manifest. But once the birth is taken, your life is fixed. Fixed tenure is fixed. You are not going to live one moment more or one moment less. Okay. So to leave the present embodiment and enter the next is called death. So this is what we call death in the worldly existence, and this death is basically the soul leaving the body. Okay. And the body itself is a matter substance. So the transformation of the body is happening independently on its own. The soul has no connections with that body. Okay. Only connection we can establish is through cause and effect relationship. Nimit Nemitik Sambandh, instrumental cause and effect relationship. So the soul and the body have a instrumental cause and effect relationship between them. Otherwise, there is no relationship because both are different substances. Okay. Soul is a conscious substances. It has the quality to know and see. The body is a non-conscious substances. It's a matter substance. It does not have the attribute of knowing. Okay. So both are independent of each other. But having said that, there exists an instrumental cause and effect relationship between the body and the soul. And that is what we call human life, subhuman life, celestial being, hellish being. Okay. So all these four states of existence are nothing but the journey of the body. Okay. The soul is eternal in all these situations. Okay. So soul is a different identity from this. Although this death is essentially the dissociation from worn out bodily associations due to the illusion of identity, ekatva buddhi, illusion of oneness, okay, the sense of ownership, mamatva buddhi, mindness, and attachment, even the mere thought of parting from the body and its association causes this ignorant soul to become agitated and disturbed. Why is agitated and disturbed? Because he believes the body as its own, and that's why he is ignorant. Okay. What happens to the wise one? The wise ones who truly understand the nature of reality regard themselves as entirely distinct from all associations such as the body and its attachments. Therefore, they do not experience sorrow at the time of separation from these associations. Even if due to the rise of conduct deluding karma, a little sorrow does arise, it is merely an infinitesimal fraction compared to the sorrow experienced by the ignorant. Okay, so the writer is showing us the difference of death in the life of a ignorant soul and a wise one. So wise one will always have a peaceful death because he is practicing this discriminative knowledge time and again. He sees the body as a distinct entity from the soul. Okay, his life is the life of a soul. So everything he connects, he looks from the perspective of a soul. Okay, so he knows that the soul's main function is just to know. So he never associated any functions of the body, mind and speech that of the soul. So this distinction is very clear all the time uh, with the wise ones. Okay, so due to the conduct deluding karma, charitra moha, a little sorrow does arise, but it is a fraction, it is a very small fraction compared to the sorrow experienced by the ignorant ones. Okay, the enlightened who always remain in a state of equanimity are natural knowers and observers of all such association, and from the perspective of faith, they dwell perpetually in samadhi, absorption in the self, because they know how to practice discriminative knowledge, and their object of life is to manifest happiness in all situations. So they always find a means to be happy in whatever situation that life throw at them. Okay, they are never in a dilemma, they have everything sorted out, and the moment they practice descriptive knowledge, they feel that there is no problem. Okay, problem only arises when you consider yourself to be a body and look to the problems from the perspective of body. But when you look at the problems from the perspective of soul, there is no way, it's just an object of our knowledge, nothing else. It's just the transformation happening across all the six substances, and soul is an observer of all those and not a doer. Okay, just because he doesn't become a doer, he is in happy space all the time. If you become a doer, of course you will suffer. Okay, so that is the basic fine line between the wise ones and the ignorant ones. Whether it is the transformation of the self or others, maintaining equanimity towards all the transformation in the world is called samadhi, spiritual composure. To remain free from feelings of liking or disliking in all transformation of the soul, of the self and others is samadhi. So you see, samadhi is such a deeper topic to discuss. It's all about our life of a soul. Okay, how a wise person lives his life. To think this should happen and this should not happen, such desire, in a way, a form of craving or longing, nidan. Okay, and nidan is like a thorn, it is a painful meditation. Okay, in last semester only we learned about the 4 kinds of meditation: artha dhyan, raudra dhyan, painful meditation, violent meditation, then dharma dhyan and shukla dhyan. So dharma dhyan was righteous meditation, and shukla dhyan was pure introspective meditation. Okay, so if such craving exists, how can samadhi be present? So the biggest hurdle to manifest the death in equanimity is your cravings, your desire, your wants, okay, your greeds. All these doesn't allow you to be in happy space all the time. But we have learned about this desires or cravings in detail. What is the problem with desire? That if one desire is fulfilled, another desire crops up. That is the first point. So no one will have his desire fulfilled anytime. Second point is the 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 pit of desire is so big that if we collect all the material available in the universe, it is still just a fraction, 1% of the whole pit. So nobody is going to be satisfied, because there are infinite lives in this universe. And if the available material is very fraction of the total desires, then who will get as a share? So the conclusion is that desire can never be fulfilled. The third point is when the desire is there, the material is not available. When the material gets available, the desire has gone. You want to buy a new house, you look for it, and then you work hard for it, and then ultimately you buy. But by the time you get your possession, the desire to own a new house has gone. You have some other desire coming to your mind right now. So even if the builder says that your house is ready, take the key, you are not reluctant to go, and the excitement is not there because the desire has gone. So the wise one never desires for anything because he says that we are not going to get what we desire. They have very clear understanding about the desires. So they don't ask for anything. They know whatever I'll get according to my punya. And the fourth point one is even whatever you desire, you will only get to the extent your auspicious karma is coming into fruition. You're not going to get 1 rupee more. Okay. So all our efforts in those direction of fulfilling the desire are futile, loss of time, loss of energy, okay, and losing out this invaluable human life, So we can very well understand this fallacy of desire. Okay, what is the nature of these desires with these 4 points? Your desire will automatically stop because you know that there is no way that desires can be fulfilled. But even if we don't desire, whatever auspicious karmas fruition we have, we will definitely get. And that's how we have reached here. We have got this human life without asking. We have got these associations of Dev, Shastra, Guru, true God, true scriptures, and true monks without asking. We never had this in mind that I want to pursue spirituality, but accidentally we got it, right? So all this shows that there is no point in desiring anything. Whatever you have to get, you will always get it, even without putting in any efforts. So our all efforts should be directed towards understanding the scriptures. Okay, and by understanding the scriptures, we will understand the truth of life, one by one, and knowing all the truths and combining them and applying in our day-to-day life. Nobody can make us feel sorrowful, grief, suffering, nothing. Always in happy state. Okay, as some of you must have experienced in the last 2.5 years, how your life have transformed. What were your earlier feeling like, and what are the feelings that you have? Okay, so this is something unique that we have got without asking. Okay, just by sheer luck, by good fortune. Okay, so make the most of this opportunity, right? So someone gets selected in the India team by some jack, by some influence, or by luck. But if he doesn't perform, then he will be turned out. Okay, so similarly we have got this human life, all the good associations by luck. There is no effort over there, right? Who chooses where to get birth? Whether in a Jain family or a Hindu family or a Muslim family or a Christian family, nobody has the choice. But we automatically end up here, right? So all these are opportunities for us. Now, if we utilize this opportunity to break this cycle of life and death, life and death, life and death, then you have done your job. Okay. Otherwise, it will be addition to another life, another circle of transmigration. This will keeps on happening. So we are positioned to have, we are positioned in a very nice place right now, and we should make the most of this opportunity. And the enlightened ones, as you see, they understand the scriptures, they have understood these principles, and they remain in a state of equanimity always. Okay. So what is basically Samadhi Maran exactly? So the definition given by Acharya Samanbhadraji in Ratnakaran Shravakachar has been mentioned here, referred here, in the face of unavoidable calamity. Now, whatever this unavoidable calamity is, this is something come not by choice, but by the rise of karmas. Okay, famine, drought, old age, or illness. When there is no means of remedy, no solution, renouncing the body for the sake of preserving dharma. Now, what is this dharma? This dharma is vitragta, detachment, non passionlessness. Okay, so this is called dharma. Renouncing the body for the sake of preserving dharma is called sallekna by the noble ones. In essence, when such affliction arise, that death is near and there is no appropriate means of escape, when a famine arises and it becomes impossible to sustain life through pure and ethical means. Okay. When old age makes it impossible to live without violating the principle of non-violence, or when an illness occurs that cannot be treated through non-violent means, then in such situations, for the protection of one's dharma, renouncing the body in a manner prescribed by the scripture is what noble and wise individuals call samadhi maran or sallekna. If afflictions such as calamities, famine, old age, or severe illness can be countered, then one should first attempt to counter them. Okay? This is very important line. Then one should first attempt to counter them, undergo treatment, and apply suitable remedies. Acharya Samanbhadra, he got a disease of Bhasmak Rog. In Hindi, we call it Bhasmak Rog. It means that your appetite is never satisfied. You go on eating, but the appetite never gets satisfied. So he got that disease. So he went to his guru, Acharya, and said that I want to take a samadhi. Acharya said, why? That I've caught this disease, and in the life of a monk, we only have one time a day the taking of alms, and that also only 32 morsels, okay, not more than that. So how can I survive in the life of a monk? So give me samadhi. I want to renounce food altogether and have a death in equanimity. So his guru, he was a psychologist. All gurus are psychologists, they are so learned that they are also psychologists. So he thought, he understood that there is Acharya Samanbhadraji is very brilliant in debates, and he is going to spread the religion of Jainism like anything. So he told him that you leave the life of a monk, renounce monkhood, go anywhere wherever is possible and get your disease covered or get okay. So he followed his Acharya's instruction. He left the life of a monk. He became a pujari in a mandir, in a Hindu mandir. And in Hindu mandir, every day, the devotees offer them fruits and other varieties of food, So what he used to do, he used to stay behind the statue of Lord Shankar, I think it was, and he would all the foods that are offered by the devotees. And devotees thought that this is a miracle, all the foods are disappearing. So obviously this statue must be consuming this food, and the word spread, and more people came to the mandir and offered their uh, offerings, fruits and other things. And Acharya Samanbandra, in the disguise of a pujari, used to consume all those food, and over a period of time, his disease got resolved. And the day he was supposed to leave that temple, the people complained to the king that this pujari is doing like this. And king came to the mandir to see what pujari is doing. And moment the king came and he was caught, the moment that statue of Shankar, it became a statue of Chandra Prabhu Bhagwan. And there was a miracle. And everybody understood that this soul is a great soul. That's why this miracle has happened. And everyone bowed to him. He came back to the congregation. He was initiated into monkhood again. And he spread Jainism like anything. Jainism was on the verge of extinction at that point of time. And he imbibed a new life in Jainism by debating with other religious scholars and defeated them. And in that time, there used to be a rule that whoever gets defeated will accept the religion of the winner. So he became winner in all these debates, and he converted many other sects, scholars, into Jainism. And that's how Jainism thrived. So he is called Kalikal Sarvagna. He's given a title of Kalikal Sarvagna. Although he was not a Sarvagna, but he's termed as a Kalikal Sarvagna. So if the means are available to get treatment to what you have got, then first should be that objective. Because here you have got a human life. Now the next life mostly would be in a celestial being. And in celestial being, you cannot practice restraint, right? So here you are having opportunity to practice restraint, sanyam, okay? So it is not wise to live a human life, First you have to attempt to counter those diseases, undergo treatment, and apply suitable remedies. If, however, no non-violent and harmless means remain available, then one should, in accordance with the procedure described in the Jinagam, undertake samadhi, the practice of peaceful spiritual absorption at the end of life. Yeah.
Sir, so when he came back to the congregation, he becomes a minor monk?
Yeah, he become a new monk, you can say. So even an 8-year-old who has taken renunciation just before him, he has to bow to him.
Okay.
He is now senior and he is junior. He is the most junior now. Okay, so we will continue. So Salekna is not a suicide. Okay, it's a systematically gradual and peaceful weakening of the body and the passions. Okay, first is the passion and then the body. Okay, suicide is done during extreme state of mental disturbance. The passions are very high. Okay, so there is a difference between suicide and Salekna. Salekna, the emphasis is on the weakening of the passions. Okay, weakening of the passions and then subsequently the body. It is only undertaken when no other viable path to live righteously remains. If any treatment within the boundaries of our woes is possible, there is no entitlement to undertake Salekna. Okay. So the body's transformation is bound to happen. It is a universal and timeless truth. The essence of Salekna lies in accepting this truth, and before the body leaves us, we should be prepared to leave it. This is a very underline this line, particular line. Before the body leaves us, we should be prepared to leave it. This is a sensible thing to do. The practical form of this wisdom is Sallekna or Samadhi Maran, death in equanimity. So how do you leave the body? Okay, by practicing discriminative knowledge and understanding that I am the pure soul and not this body, and this body is a alien association. So understanding this is means leave the body before the body leaves us. Okay. Now continue, Hemali. In the referred verse,
In the referenced verse, the most important word is irremediable, which is niha pratikade. This adjective must necessarily be applied to all four preceding conditions. The essential meaning is that salekna may only be undertaken in situations where the calamity or affliction upsarg cannot be removed under any circumstance. A famine, durbhiksha, occurs in which sustaining life by non-violent means is no longer possible. Such old age arises where all senses have completely deteriorated and life has become entirely dependent and helpless. A life-threatening illness strikes for which there is no possible cure. Only under such circumstances is undertaking Sallekna permissible. If a calamity, famine, old age or disease does not pose a real threat to life, and if sustaining life is still possible, then it is not appropriate to undertake Sallekna. In such conditions of calamity, etc., appropriate efforts should be made to remedy the situation. It is not right to die with equanimity merely for the sake of it. Rather, continuing to live righteously is the proper path. Because wherever you go after death, you will initially have to live a life without restraint or sinning. Therefore, it is not advisable to abandon the current human birth, which is a powerful means of practicing self-restraint. In this context, Pandit Sada Sukhdasi ji writes, if one gives up his body, which is a companion in the pursuit of dharma, by renouncing food, then will vows, penance and self-restraint be accomplished through the unrestrained body of celestial being, hell beings or subhumans? It is this human body alone that can attain the three jewels, Ratnatraya. If someone abandons this body, which is a vehicle for practicing dharma by giving up food and such, then what purpose is truly accomplished? What goals of ours will be fulfilled by giving up this body? All that will happen is that one will acquire another new body, one that is devoid of vows and religious discipline. In the statement by Pandit Sadasukh Das ji, there is a firm emphasis on not abandoning food and the body before the appropriate circumstances arise. In the Sagara Dharmamrata, Pandit
Ashadhar.
Ashadhar writes, Na dharma sada nam iti sthasno, na sanyam vapur buddha iha, na cha kenapi no rakshyam iti socham vinay sarvaram. The body, being a means to pursue dharma, should not be destroyed by the wise. Yet, if the body is perishing, then it is not something to grieve over, for no one can save a dying person. In the above statement by Asadharaji, there is a clear instruction not to destroy the body. At the same time, he also states that if the body is perishing on its own, one should not grieve. Merely emancipating the body does not constitute Sallekna. Rather, it is essential to weaken the passions, kashais, along with the body. As Acharya Pujyapad states, Samyak Kaya Kashaya Lekhana Sallekna. True Sallekna is the proper weakening of both the body and the passions. In Sagara
In Sagar Dharmamrit, Pandit Ashadhar ji,
thank you, sir, also writes Upavasa.
you can skip that.
Okay, sir. The aspirant striving for Samadhi Maran, death and equanimity, should in the right manner weaken the body through fasting and similar practices and weaken the passions through the nectar of scriptural knowledge, Shuddhyan. Having done so, he should present himself in the midst of fourfold congregations, Sangha monk, nuns, laymen and laywomen. That is, he should go to where the fourfold congregation is present. In the referenced verse, fasting and similar practices are described as a means to weaken the body, and study of scriptures, study of self, is shown as a means to weaken the passion, Kashaya. Additionally, the verse advises stay in the company of the fourfold congregation, Chaturtha Sangha, monks, nun, laymen, and laywomen. From this, it becomes evident that these instructions primarily apply to householders, Shravaks, who observe vows not just to ascetics. Birth, death, old age, and disease belong to the body, not to me, which is the soul. Therefore, I should remain free from attachment towards the body. The word pind refers to both the body and food. Though they are identical in name and nature, it is surprising that the same food which once nourished the body now harms it. Hence, when food begins to harm rather than support the body, it should be renounced. These statements make it very clear that when food no longer nourishes but instead deteriorates the body, it must be given up. Let it be carefully understood that the point here is not to abandon food arbitrarily, but only when it begins to harm the body instead of supporting it. Even in the major scripture, the Tattvad Sutra, Acharya Uma Swamiji primarily addresses vowed householders, Anuvrat Dhari Shravakas, and secondarily other aspiring seekers. He advises Salekna, which is meditative death, is not only to be undertaken when afflicted by external calamities, but also when death approaches naturally at the end of life. In either case, embracing the vow of Salekna becomes necessary. Acharya Amrit Chandra, in his text Purushat Siddhi Upay, a key work on the ideal conduct for lay follower Shrava, places special emphasis on this point. He states, this vow of Salekna alone can carry your wealth of dharma into the next birth. Although this vow is formally taken at the end of life, the inner intention and resolve to undertake Salekna can and should be cultivated much earlier in life. Thus, Salekna is not only a vow that sanctifies death, but also a practice that spiritually fragrances the entire life through the power of pure contemplation, bhavana.
Next page.
This is the one and only vow that can carry my dharma with me into the next birth. Therefore, this final Salekna vow must be contemplated upon constantly with devotion. At the time of death, I shall certainly undertake Salekna with such inner resolve, even before death arrives. The wise practitioner begins to observe the essence of this vow. The body is merely a mass of material atoms, Pudgal Padmanu. These atoms will eventually disperse in the due course of time, but I am eternal, beginningless and indestructible substance. Therefore, I shall continue to exist in the next birth as well, and my dharma, my spiritual merit, shall accompany me too. Hence, we should not concern ourselves with the body or with wealth and possessions. Rather, we should reflect upon the nature of ourself, our soul, Atma Tattva, and we should remain alert and attentive towards preserving and nurturing our inner essence. In these verses, Acharya Amrit Chandraji is giving us this very command, this very instruction. The vow of Salekna is described in the canonical texts of Shravakacharya, Shravakachara, lay conduct. It is expounded upon after the discussion of the 12 vows in the context of the second Pratima, second spiritual stage of the householder. Pandit Pravda Asadharaji too does not mention the vow of Salekna in his Angara
Dharmamrit.
Dharmamrat, thank you, but rather discusses it in Sangra Dharmamrat. After describing the 11 Pratimas, stages of spiritual development of the vowed layperson in chapter 7, he discusses Salekna in chapter 8.
Asadharji classifies.
Thank you, sir. Asadharji classifies Shravak lay followers into 3 types.
Pakshik, Naishtik, Sadhak.
Pakshik, Naishtik, Sadhak. One who takes the side of Jain philosophy is a Pakshik Shravak, and one whose conviction, Nishtha, is established in Jain philosophy is Naishtik Shravak. A Shravak who engages in the practice, sadhana of Jain philosophy is a Sadhak Shravak. A right believing layperson without vows, Avidati Samyak Drishti, is a Prakshik Shravak, Pakshik Shravak, and one who adopts the 11 Pratimas and follows them with steadfastness is a Nashtik Shravak. One who embraces death with composure, that is, one who undertakes Salekna, is a Sadhaka Shravak. In this way, it is definitely established that this vow, Vrat, is the vow of Vrati Shravaks, lay followers with vows.
Stop. So you see, the first thing that was discussed, what Himali read, is that if the remedies are available, you should opt for it, and if it is not available, then it is advisable to go for this death in equanimity. Okay, and under the guidance of a guru, okay, he will guide you at every stage. What happens, sometimes they take the vow of Salekna, and then later on they feel that when there is so much of thirst happening, so then they ask for water. So at that time, the guru, which is called Niryapak, okay, he will ensure that you don't take the water, because you have already taken a vow, you have renounced everything. Now you cannot again have water. So even if the death happens, it happens, but once you have taken a vow, you should observe it. Okay, so that Niryapak would try to convince that you have already taken a vow, you practice discriminative knowledge, this is an opportunity for you to practice discriminative knowledge. So such and such instructions would be given by the Niryapak or the guru, and he again settles down. So this kind of things happens. So it should always be advisable to take this Salekna under the guidance of some senior guru if available. If gurus are not available, then co-religionist, sadharmics, who will guide you in this. Okay. Then the next discussion was about that basically this person pertains to a lay person or a householder, who is in the 5th stage. This vow is taken by the vow holder who has already taken the 12 vows. Okay. For him, it is advisable to take this kind of vows. So primarily it is for the lay person. And that's why this finds place in Ratnakaran Sravakachar, Purshat Siddhi Upay. These are the scriptures for the conduct of a householder. Okay, not about the monks. Why it is not advisable for the monks? Because monks are in any way always in equanimity, right? So they need not practice this. Householder need to practice this and learn this, right? Monks are always in equanimity stage, and for them, this is only a formality for them, because they are always living in equanimity. So obviously their death would also be in equanimity only. Okay. So for them, these instructions are not given. These instructions are given at the householder level. Okay. And another argument was given that as a householder, you are able to practice restraint right now, right? So you should not uh, you should not take Sallekna if the remedies are available. Okay. If it is not available, then only this is advised. Then in all these descriptions of Sallekna, everywhere it is mentioned that you have to practice discriminative knowledge. Okay. This is the one and only way that carry my dharma with me into the next birth. Okay. So you are already practicing, and when the death comes, you always have this peaceful death, and then you carry whatever you have learned here, whatever you have decided on in this birth, that you carry forward with you in the next birth in the form of dharma. Dharma means vitrakta. Therefore, this final Sallekna vow must be contemplated upon constantly with devotion. It is not that during the time of death only you contemplate this. No. Throughout the life you contemplate, and then this death will automatically happen. At the time of death, I shall certainly undertake Sallekna with such inner resolve. Even before the death arrives, the wise practitioner begins to observe the essence of this vow. The body is merely a mass of material atoms, Udgal Parmanus. These atoms will eventually disperse in due course of time. But I am an eternal, beginningless, and indestructible substance. Therefore, I shall continue to exist in the next birth as well, and my dharma, my spiritual merit, shall accompany me too. Hence, we should not concern ourselves with the body or with wealth and possessions, because these are all fleeting associations, right? And our soul, when the soul leaves this body at the time of death, nothing comes with us. So we should not concern ourselves with the body or with wealth and possession. Rather, we should reflect upon the nature of ourself, our soul, and we should remain alert and attentive towards preserving and nurturing our inner essence. In these verses, Acharya Amrit Chandra Dev is giving us this very command, this very instruction. This vow of Sallekna is described in the canonical text of Sravakachar, lay conduct. It is expounded upon after the discussion of the 12 vows in the context of the second Pratima. So there are 11 Pratima, second spiritual stage of the householder. So out of 11 spiritual stages of householder, under the second stage, it is called Vrat Pratima. And under that Vrat Pratima, these 12 vows are undertaken. Okay. But prior to this Pratima also, these 12 vows are undertaken. But those are with transgression, while in the Pratima, those are without transgression. This is only the difference. Okay. You have become more steadfast, then only you enter the Pratimas. Okay. So initially at the 5th stage, the lay person undertakes these 12 vows, and after this 12 vows, 13th vow is this Sallekna, and then he progresses towards Pratima. And in the second Pratima, these 12 vows are without transgression. Okay. So these are followed in the right manner. Then Pandit Asadarji, who also discusses Sallekna in the Sagar Dharmamrit. Sagar is for the householder and Angar is for the monk. So he does not discuss this in Angar Dharmamrit. He discusses this in the Sagar Dharmamrit. After describing the 11 Pratimas of the vowed layperson in chapter 7, he discussed Sallekna in chapter 8. So Asadarji classifies Shravakas into 3 categories: Pakshik, Naisthik, Sadhak. One who takes the side of Jain philosophy is a Pakshik Shravak. Okay. So Pakshik Shravak is a right believing person without vows. That means 4th stage. Okay. In the 4th stage is the Pakshik Shravak. Then one whose conviction is established in Jain philosophy is a Naisthik Shravak, and he is in the 5th stage. Okay. is in the 5th stage with the 11 pratimas. Then we have the third category, a Shravak who engages in the practice of Jain philosophy is a Sadhak Shravak. So, one who embraces death with composure, that is, who undertakes Sallekna, is a Sadhak Shravak. Okay. So, basically, the monks are the Sadhak Shravak. No, not the monk. These are all 3 categories of lay persons only. So, but these are the Sadhak Shravak is at a higher level than the previous 2. Okay. So, these categories are different 3 stages of the lay persons only. Okay. In this way, it is definitely established that this vow is the vow of a Vrati Shravak, lay followers with vows. Okay. So this much discussion we have done. We will continue this discussion in the 6th chapter of Ratnakaran Shravak Achar. Madhuji.
Sir, 1 second. Sir,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a question. So, what is this fourfold congregation? This is going to.
Fourfold congregation is Shravak, monk, Arjika, Shravak, Shravika.
No, so they have to go to temple. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, ideally they go to this. There are some places besides the temple. Temple only houses the statue, but
Upashray.
besides the temple, like Upashray we have. So there is a place there. This monks comes and dwells. Arjika also dwells over there. So Shravak and Shravikas are also there. So if you want to take this Sallekna, ideally they are going to guide you. So you have to go there and take this Sallekna under their guidance. That is what it means. Okay. So this fourfold congregation is going to be there till the end of this 5th era. Okay. So there will always be monk available. There will always be Arjika available. There will always be a lay person, male and female, both Shravak and Shravika will always be available up to the end of this 5th era. Okay. The scriptures mentions this. So this is about that.
So, sir, when we want to take Sallekna, we have to go and take that vow, right? So, do they ask questions?
No, like they will see your how much mentally ready you are for that. Okay. But the biggest criteria to take this Sallekna is the life that you are lived. So
Right.
if you are very confident about yourself, you will definitely, even if you take the vow or you don't take the vow, your death would be peaceful only. Because you have what you have been practicing whole life, that is also you are going to practice at the end of your life.
Right.
So it's not that, and your journey will continue in the next birth also. So it's a general transformation, nothing hi-fi about a wise person. Wise person is already living a life of equanimity. Okay. So if the death happens in equanimity, it's not a surprise.
And so, one more question. So, for instance, if there is a monk who doesn't live in Upashray or anything but lives in a building, like there is a monk who lives in our building. So, like towards the end, can she be considered a guru to come and give the vow of Sallekna?
See, she is not a monk. She is Arjika, maybe Arjika, right?
No, but she wears all those white clothes and everybody comes and.
So like in Digambar tradition, we have monks and Arjikas, right? We don't have she monks. They cannot be at the 6th and 7th stage of spiritual development. So Arjikas can go up to 5th stage only, not beyond that. So she is not in the monk category. Okay, first of all. Then second of all, like he must be knowing all this. Of course, this Sallekna is there in all the sects, even in Swetambar, Sthanakvasi, everywhere this Sallekna is very popular. But the proper way of taking Sallekna that has been described here, that should be followed first. You have to live the life, in equanimity. Then only. You should know descriptive knowledge. You should know all these doctrines that we have learned, Then only. If you go and ask these monks about all these doctrines, they are not aware of this.
Okay.
So they basically what has happened, they have taken few things from here, few things from somewhere else, and they have formed a new sect.
Yeah.
So this Svetambar was not in existence earlier. During the time of Bhadrabhahu Swami, uh, he came to know through Nimit Gyan that there will be a famine here for the next 12 years. So he advised all the monks to go to the south. There would be no famine over there, and your duties of a monk would be observed only there. It will not be possible to here, because if there is a famine, the Sravaks only don't have the food, how they can offer you. Okay. So most of the monks went towards south, but few of them were here only. And then as the famine came, all those scarcity happened, and then they have to resort to taking patras. Then they had to wear clothes, they have to keep a stick, just because the dog also would attack them for food. While carrying food in patra, the dogs would come and attack for them for food, because everywhere there was hunger. Even the dogs were not getting food, so they had to take this stick also with them. So this tradition started from there. So it must be in the, I think, 5th century, around 5th century, I think. Okay. So Bhadrabhahu Swami, I think he was the last Shuddh Kevli. Okay. And then there were no Shuddh Kevli. So he was that much knowledgeable. So during his time, this happened. And there is another sect already. Then from Svetambar, the Sthanakvasi and Deravasi, and then we have so many right now. Everyone tries to make a sect for his group, and there is so much of groupism over there. So the essence of the true religion has been lost somewhere, right? It is only the rituals they feel it's the dharma. And so they recommend so many fastings. What is fasting for? Fasting is there for you to study whole day. Today you don't have to cook anything, you are doing fasting. So that was the purpose. So that purpose has been put aside, and only not eating food is a fasting. So that is not the real sense of fasting. So all the definitions have changed, So we cannot say anything about those people, what they are doing, why are they doing, because that is the belief that they are having. It's written in their scriptures like that. So we cannot comment on what they do, and we cannot take guidance from them also. Only thing is that you can have a dialogue with him if she's ready to discuss what you have studied already. You can discuss with them. If they are really interested, they will try to learn from you. Okay. And if they are not interested, then they will not discuss with you. So recently, I went to teach 3 sadhvis, they were here in Kandivali. So I used to go every day for 4 months. The Chomasa was here. And they are so good at studies. Now they are in Sion. And they are looking for teachers to teach them in Sion. So they are so interested, and they have studied everything, Samaysar, all this course, happiness course was designed just because of them. I taught them all these topics, and then they were so interested. Then I found that, oh, this works. So then I designed this course, 12 topics. So all those 12 topics I taught them, and then they have started now studying Samaysar. I taught them Pravachan-sar also. So they were here for 4 months. So every day we used to have discussion. So there are many sadhvis like that who are interested in this kind of knowledge, but they don't have access. That is the problem. So if those kind of sadhvis are there, you can very well go there and teach them. You will have to prepare to teach them. So your preparations will be, you will be only learning for yourself. So those things are there. There are some people who are open-minded. They realize that this is the truth. They are ready to accept the truth, and they are studying. Okay, Madhuji, you can begin.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. In the 6th chapter of Ratnakarand Acharya, composed by Acharya Samantabhadra, the vow of Sanlekhana is discussed. Following that, the 7th chapter addresses the 11 stages, that is the pratimas of spiritual progression for householders. Taken together, the practice of Samadhi Maran, death in meditative equanimity, also known as Sanlekhana, is consistently discussed in the context of these 11 pratimas and the 12 vows associated with them. This also establishes that Sanlekhana is primarily a vow for the lay practitioners, Shravakas, who are situated in the 5th Gunasthan, the stage of spiritual development. Monks, by contrast, are perpetually absorbed in equanimity, that is Samadhi. Their entire lives are an embodiment of equanimity. And for some whose life is suffused with equanimity, death too, by necessity, becomes equanimous samadhimaya. Within the discussions of Samadhi Maran, ideas like seeking permission from one's parents, wife, children, and family members are inapplicable to monks. All such responsibilities are already renounced at the time of initiation, that is Diksha. As for someone who observes no vows, Avrati, if they have no foundational vows, how can they be said to undertake the final vow properly? At best, we can say that every soul, wise or ignorant, must remain cautious at the time of death, and indeed should do so. The next Maran Kandika, authored by Acharya Amitagati and Bhagavati Aradhana, written in Prakrit by Acharya Sivarya or
Tivarya.
Sivarya, or its Sanskrit version Mularadhana.
Mul Dharma. Mul
Mul-
Aradhana.
Mularadhana, all elaborate on 5 kinds of deaths. 1. Balmarna, Balmarna, the death of utter ignorance, typical of false believers, that is Mithya Drishti. 2. Bal Maran, the death of right believing lay persons without vows, Adhirati Samyak Drishti. 3. The death by lay practitioners following the 11 stages of spiritual development, Pratimadharis, and female ascetics, that is Arjikas, is called Bal Pandit Maran. 4. The death of Muni Rajas is called Pandita Maran, that is wise death. 5th, the Nirvana of Arihants is referred to as Pandit Pandita Maran, supremely wise death. According to the sequence of the 14 spiritual development stages, that is Gunasthans, the death of those in the first Gunasthan is called Bal Maran, death in utter ignorance. The death of those in the fourth Gunasthan is called Bal Maran, that is death of childlike soul. The death of those in the fifth Gunasthan is called Bal Pandit Maran, death of semi-wise soul. The death of those from the 6th to the 11th Gunasthan is called Pandit Maran, that is, death of a wise soul. And the liberation of those in the 13th and 14th Gunasthans is called Pandita Maran, death of the supremely wise, that is, the final liberation. This present treatise discusses only the second and third types of death, that is, the Samadhi Maran or Sanlekhana of those in the fourth and fifth Gunasthan. Hence, we can say that the subject of this work is exclusively the Sanlekhana of right believing householders, Samyak Drishti, who are with or without vows. It should be noted that alongside the discussion of the 12 vows, the transgressions, Atichar, of Sanlekhana are also listed. This too proves that the Sanlekhana vow is primarily meant for householder, vow holder,
Stop.
Brati Shara.
Stop.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So see, there are 5 kinds of deaths. This has been mentioned in Bhagavati Aradhana. Basically, that scripture is for the monks only by Acharya Sivarya. Okay. Bal Maran. Okay. So the false believer's death is considered as a Bal Maran. Okay. Then the second one is Bal Maran, the death of right believing lay person without vows, 4th stage. Okay. Then third one is the death of lay practitioners, that means 5th stage, following the 11 stages of spiritual development, Pratimadharis, and female ascetics, Arjikas, is called Bal Pandit Maran. So second and third, second is for the 4th stage, third is for the 5th stage. So mostly 4th and 5th stages are the true holders, or they are the true, we can say, qualified person to take this samadhi. Okay. First you have to have right belief, then the true, in the true sense, the samadhi applies. Okay. The 4th one is the death of Muniraj. It is called Pandit Maran, and it is in the stages of 6th to 11th Gunasthan. Okay. The monks in the 6th and 11th stages. And the last one is Nirvan of Aryant, is called Pandit Maran. Although it is not a Maran, it is they get liberated. Okay. But still it is called the Pandit Maran. Pandit means knowledgeable. Okay. So it is termed as Pandit Maran. So then we were discussing now the transgressions of the Sallekna. Because in Tattva Sutra, these 5 transgressions of Sallekna are also mentioned. So basically this Sallekna is for the, Sallekna is a vow and it belongs to the vow holders, Stravak only. Okay. These 5 types of transgressions of Sallekna vow are, first is Jivita Samsa, having the desire to live even after accepting Sallekna is the first transgression. So you already taken a vow of Sallekna, now you have desired to live. Okay. So that is a transgression. So the guide will help you to overcome this transgression. Okay. He will advise you. Then Marana Sansa, becoming disturbed by the pain of illness and desiring to die quickly. And this is second transgression. Okay. In fact, the aspiration of every self-oriented seeker, brother or sister, should be, may I live for million of years, or may death come this very day. I am prepared. Both the cases. The one who undertakes Sallekna must remain equally prepared for both, to die immediately or to live for an immeasurable period. Then we have Mitranurag, having attachment towards friends, repeatedly remembering them. This is the third transgression. Then Sukhanubandh, remembering previously experienced pleasures. This is the fourth transgression. Then Nidan, desiring future enjoyments. This is the fifth transgression. So if you have this kind of thoughts, then these are considered as transgressions. And if you stop at this level, then your vows are not broken. But if you go further, that thoughts keeps on coming again and again, it haunts you, then you have to take advice from the seniors. Otherwise, your vow would be broken. These are the 5 transgressions of the Sallekna vow. One should recognize them and through contemplation on the nature of reality, strive to avoid them. That's why it is mentioned that these things do happen. And at that time, you have to control yourself, Thinking that this Sallekna vow is only for those observing vows, non-vow holders should not become disinterested in it. It is not only for those who observe vows, but non-vow holders should not become disinterested in it. They too should observe it to the extent of their capacity. To forcibly invite death is not Samadhi Maran. Sacrificing a precious human life which is ideal for Dharma is not Dharma. Dharma is to know the self, to recognize the self. Having known and recognized the self, to establish a sense of identity in the self. This is called dharma. To merge into the self itself, to become established in equanimity, this is the dharma. Breaking the sense of identification and attachment with the association of the body and the like is called samadhi. Keeping in mind in samadhi maran, it is not the that is central. It is the samadhi that is central. Samadhi means to live in an equanimous state. Okay. Samta bhav, vitrakta, detachment, passionlessness. Yet no one talks about samadhi. Everyone thinks about death only. Samadhi by its very nature is worth adopting, whether in life or in death. The only thing truly worth adopting is equanimity, the samadhi. Death is incidental. It inevitably comes once in life, whether it comes naturally or due to adversities like ailments or afflictions. It must be accepted with equanimity. We need not do anything about it. It is as natural as life itself. We are always prepared to live. Likewise, we should also be naturally prepared to die. In the discussion of transgression, just as the desire to live is considered a transgression of samadhi maran, so the desire to die. Our inner contemplation should be such that even I live for millions of years or death comes today itself, let it be. Okay. When the occasion of death arises in a situation where avoidance is impossible, then accepting it without grief or agitation, with natural composure, is true samadhi maran, is sallekna. And this is only possible when you practice discriminative knowledge. Okay. Then only you are accepting it without grief. Okay. Neither is inviting death a sign of wisdom, nor is fearing sudden death appropriate. Accepting every situation with composure is samadhi maran, is sallekna. Now, question. On one hand, you say that as long as the present illness can be treated, as long as the calamity can be averted, samadhi maran should not be undertaken. One should focus first on treatment and counteraction. Only when the situation gets out of control and death appears inevitable should one take the vow of samadhi maran. Is this not in a way a desire to live? In the same way, once the vow of death has been taken and the gradual renunciation of food and such has begun, does this not continue an intention towards death? This is the question they are asking. If it does, then why do you label both the desire to live and the desire to die as transgressions? Answer. After having made numerous efforts, when you have come to the conclusion that survival is no longer possible, only then you have undertaken this vow. If at that point the desire for life arises, the mind will become divided. A divided mind is not appropriate. No action carried out without a divided mind succeeds. Similarly, due to intense suffering, the desire for an early death is also not a natural acceptance of life or of the woe of natural death. Therefore, these are called transgressions. You know, the one who practices equanimity all the time, he is practicing discriminative knowledge. So, if there is an intense suffering, still they are practicing discriminative knowledge, and when they practice discriminative knowledge, they are in the happy space. Okay. So there is no need for asking for death, because they know that this is not my life. My life is the life of a soul, and I'm only a knower, observer. Okay. So naturally these things comes. This ignorant world considers as its own the sentient possessions like wife and children, mother and father, brothers and sisters, and insentient possessions like money, property, house, and especially the body. It is deeply entangled in these associations, wholly absorbed in them. It is engaged in acquiring and protecting them. If even one person or one object from among these is lost, this being becomes restless and agitated. That is the complete dissociation from all sentient and insentient association at once. Hence, upon merely hearing the name of death, this ignorant world becomes infinitely restless and agitated. This ignorant world sees total destruction in death. That is why the mere mention of it makes it agitated and perturbed. In this impermanent and shelterless world, it sees no refuge. It sees no one can save it from death. Maranam prakriti saririni nama. Dying is the nature of embodied beings. It is their natural disposition. According to this saying of the great poet Kalidas, death is natural. Therefore, if not today, then tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then the day after. Death is inevitable. It cannot be postponed forever due to identification with this association and the false belief of mindness. This ignorant world is endlessly sorrowful. And if this belief is not corrected in the future, it will continue to remain sorrowful for infinite time. It is not possible to prevent the dissociation of association. Therefore, the only viable course left is that whatever is happening in the world at any moment, we should remain calm observers, calm knowers, and conscious knowers of it. Neither should we wish, may I not die, may I never die, nor wish, may I die soon. Okay? The true belief that brings infinite bliss is this: if the moment of death has come, be ready to die. If there is a natural suitability for continued life, be ready to live. This alone is called Samadhi Maran. In Samadhi Maran, there is neither a desire to live nor a desire to die. Again a question. All begins wish to live. No one wants to die. Still you say, do not desire to die. Do not wait for an early death. Why not desire death? Isn't Samadhi Maran undertaken for the very purpose of dying? Answer. Samadhi Maran is not undertaken in order to die. On the contrary, efforts are made to avoid death. When no means of survival remain, only then is Samadhi Maran undertaken. So all these discussion are the repeat of what we have already discussed. Nothing new coming out of this. Once Samadhi Maran has been undertaken, then desire to live is no longer appropriate. It becomes a cause for inner turmoil. Therefore, it is written that one should not retain the desire to live either. Sometimes in moments of intense suffering, a desire for quick death arises. You may have heard many people say there is so much pain. If only death would come soon, it would be better. So someone dies by suicide also, but the suffering continues in the next birth also, because the soul is the same. It is the fruition of karma that has come, so the suffering. So the only option for you at that point of time is to practice discriminative knowledge. If you have very well understood it, if you have very well practiced it throughout the life, then in the end also you will be able to practice. Come what kind of pain, intense pain may be there, but you will always find ways to be happy in those spaces. Okay, internally, not from outside. From outside you may cry, you may shout, the pain may be unbearable from outside, but from internally you will be in a very calm space because of your practicing discriminative knowledge. Okay. So now Amitaji, you read, but allowing the natural unfolding of the world.
But allowing the natural unfolding of the world to take its own course is the noblest path. We cannot truly alter it, and even the desire to interfere should not be harbored. Such is the message being conveyed here. For the wise souls, Gnani Jiv, life itself is a state of spiritual stillness, samadhi, and even death is marked by that same stillness. For them, due to the presence of the faith, Shraddha, every state is imbibed with samadhi. Samadhi Maran is not a vow to die. When at the end of one's lifespan, death approaches naturally and inevitably, accepting it peacefully without resistance is Samadhi Maran. Keep in mind, in Samadhi Maran, only that which is inevitable is accepted with equanimity, Sahaj Bhav. It is neither a vow to live nor a vow to die. It is a vow to gracefully accept that which is already occurring naturally. Thinkers who have written on Samadhi Maran and Sanlekhna have, after first classifying the nature of these practices, made efforts to explain either to the practitioner or to their own minds not to fear death, for this death is the one who will liberate you from this prison like body. If death did not exist, who would free you from this decaying, rotting body? Pandit Todarmaji's son, Gunira,
Gumani Ram.
Gumani Ram.
Gumani Ramji was a scholar deeply steeped in the essence of renunciation, Vairagya and a connoisseur of spiritual insight, Adhyatma Ras. He wrote in the contemporary prose of his time on the nature of Samadhi Maran. That work is fundamentally worthy of contemplative self study, Swadhyay. Those who aspire for Samadhi should definitely study that text. In it, he has written about what one should say to oneself and how one should counsel one's parents, wife, children, and others at such a time. In this, thank you, Emily. In this, one finds a reflection of the stylistic tone of the
Chulika.
Chulika introductory prologue of the Pravachan by Acharya Kunkunda, indicative of the Charananuyog tradition. In the Pravachan and its commentary, Tattva, Pradipika, a model has been presented showing how one who is prepared to take renunciation, Diksha, should address and counsel their family and relatives. That example is as follows. He bids farewell to his kin, speaking to in this way. O souls residing in the family and relatives of this man's body, know with certainty that the soul of this person does not belong to you in the slightest. Therefore, I take leave of you. This soul in whom the light of knowledge, Gnan Jyoti, has dawned is now going to its eternal companion, its own self, Atma. O soul of the one who is the father of this man's body, a soul of the one who is the mother of this man's body, know for certain that this man's soul is not produced or born by you. Therefore, you too must let go of this soul in whom the light of knowledge has arisen. This soul is now going to its eternal father like self, to eternal mother like self. O soul of the woman who is the wife of this man's body, know for certain that you are not the one who truly unites with this man's soul. Therefore, let go of this soul in whom the light of knowledge has dawned. This soul is now going to its eternal beloved, which is the self's own experience. Swanubhuti, its beginningless consort. O soul of the son of this man's body, know with certainty that you are not truly the offspring, Janya, of this man's soul. Therefore, let go of this soul in whom the light of knowledge has appeared. This soul is now going to its beginningless son, that is, self. In this way, the soul of the one seeking Diksha, renunciation, frees itself from parents, elders, wife, children, and others. What is especially noteworthy is that in Pravachansar, the one taking monastic renunciation, Muni Diksha, bids farewell to their relatives. Whereas in Death Festival, Mrityu Mahotsav, described by Pandit Gumani Ramji, the one undertaking Sanlekhna, voluntary peaceful death, actively frees himself from his relatives. Pandit Gumani Ramji too addresses the parents, wife, children, etc. in the same profound way, and his words are indeed worthy of deep study and contemplation. Some of the important excerpts from the Mrityu Mahotsav are as follows. Samadhi refers to a state free of passion, Nikashaya, a state of peaceful disposition. To die with passionless, tranquil states of consciousness is Samadhi Maran. The right believing soul, Samyak Drishti, knows its own true nature as detached vitrag, the knower and observer, Nata Drashta, distinct from other substances, Pardravya, eternal. Sorry, sometimes I
Saswat.
cannot read Saswat.
Sas.
It's my glasses or I don't know. And indestructible, Avinashi. And he knows external substances to be transient, kshan bhangur, non-eternal, sorry, kshan bhangur, non-eternal, asaswat, and fundamentally different from his own nature. Therefore, how can a soul with the right belief, samyak drashti, fear death? At the time of death, such a person contemplates and reflects as follows. I now begin to see such signs which indicate that the remaining lifespan of this body is very short. Therefore, it is proper for me to become alert. It is not appropriate to delay any longer. The time of this body's destruction has come. Its remaining life is insignificant, and even that is diminishing moment by moment. But I, being the knower, seer, Gnata Drashta, am simply observing this decline. I'm only its neighbor and its doer karta, not its doer karta, nor its master, Swami. I watch how lifespan of this body comes to an end, how this body decays and perishes, just like a spectator at a show. Behold the glory of this wondrous conscious nature, Chaitanya Swarup, in its very nature as knowledge, Gnan Swabhav, all knowable objects, Gneya Padarth, spontaneously shine forth. Yet the self never becomes transformed into the known. It never assumes the form of the object. And in this shining forth, this knowing, there is not the slightest trace of mental activity or conceptualization. Vikalpa. Therefore, it results in a bliss that is non conceptual, nirvikalpa, supersensuous, atindriya, incomparable, unobstructed, and unbroken, akhanda. Such bliss cannot be found in the world, sansar. In the world, there is only suffering. The ignorant being, Agnani Jiv, assumes pleasures even within this suffering, and that is not true bliss. What is the nature of consciousness form? Chaitanya Rupa. Thank you, Himali. Still, we need to go up. It is, thank you, Himali. It is as pure and untainted as space, Akasha. There is no distortion, impurity, vikara in space. It is entirely transparent and pristine. If someone were to try to break, cut, burn, or dissolve space with a sword, with fire, or with water, how could space ever be broken, burned, or melted? It is absolutely indestructible. If one tries to grasp or shatter space, it cannot be held or destroyed. Just like that, I too am formless, um,
Amurtik.
amurtik, flawless, nirvikar, and a mass of absolute purity. How can I be destroyed in any way? Absolutely not. This is an eternal truth. If space could be destroyed, only then could I be destroyed. Know this for certain. But there is a significant distinction between space and me. Space is an inert, jad, formless substance, while I am a conscious, chaitanya, formless substance. Because I am conscious, I know that space is inert and I am sentient. Knowing happens directly through me, visibly and immediately, while space knows nothing. So, what is my true nature? I am a mass of clarity, like a spotless mirror. Thank you, Emily. In the transparent power of the mirror, objects like pots and cloths, ghat padarth, automatically reflect on their own, just as reflective power, swachatva shakti, pervades a mirror and allows all objects to shine forth within it. In the same way, I am being transparent radiance, Swacha Shaktimay. In my reflective power, all knowable objects, Gnaya Padarth, spontaneously shine forth. Such pure, illuminating power exists naturally within my own essence, Swabhav. In the human mode, Paryay, one attains several virtues, such as the pursuit of pure consciousness, Shuddha that means for practicing knowledge, and the growth of knowledge and detachment, all of which are in rare in other modes. However, so long as one retains one's qualities like self-restraint, it is all right if the body continues to exist. After all, we hold no hostility toward the body. If the body continues, we should persevere our qualities like restraint without obstruction and detach our sense of ownership, mamatva, from the body. We must never, under any circumstances, sacrifice virtues like restraint, sanyam, for the sake of the body. I find bliss in both outcomes. If the body remains, I shall continue to practice Shuddhopyog, pure soul focused absorption. And if the body perishes, I shall continue the same practice in in the next existence. In both cases, I see no obstacle to my pursuit of pure awareness. So why should turmoil, san- sanklesha, arise in my states of consciousness, parinama? These thoughts expressed in the prose of Pandit Gumani Ramji reflect his deep study and his most intense spiritual inclination. He was a man of profound personality and serious temperament. He witnessed with his own eyes all that transpired with Pandit Todorji, and that had a deeply performative impact on his own inner development.
Stop. So you see the description given about the relatives, mother, father, wife, and all from Pravachan Sar, that was about the renunciation. A person who is undergoing to become a monk, how does he uh, approach that monkhood? First he has to take permission from his family members. So all those description was about that. But while Pandit Gumani Ramji in his he has written an article on Samadhi Maran. In that he also mentions same things about the relatives, that when also you want to take a Samadhi Maran, you should also address your family members in this way. Okay, so that was one way of expressing things. Then Okay. After that, you should consider. So the essence of what Pandit Kumari Ramji says is all about practicing discriminative knowledge. Who you are, है ना? What is the nature of your conscious form? Then what is my true nature? All these questions and the descriptions given herein all defines our pure soul's nature. Okay. So basically, we are not studying Samadhi Maran, we are studying what our life should be like that. Okay. So the soul's life is like that. I am formless, flawless, mass of absolute purity. How I can be destroyed in my any way? Absolutely not. This is an eternal truth. Okay. And there he has also drawn a comparison with the space, Akash. There is no distortion, impurity in space. It is entirely transparent and pristine. Um, Nobody can break it, nobody can cut it, nobody can burn it. Okay. Similarly, I am too formless. So in this way, by comparing with the space, the soul's inner qualities are being described. Okay. Then when the question was asked, what is my true nature? Then it was said, I am a mass of clarity, like a spotless mirror. So we have this knowledge attribute, and in this knowledge attribute, everything gets reflected. Okay. So I am just a knower. I am not the doer of all these things. Whatever comes as a reflection in my knowledge screen, I am only knowing it. Okay. In my reflective power, all knowable objects spontaneously shine forth. Such pure illuminating power exists naturally within my own essence. Okay. So all this description goes on to say that Pandit Gumani Ramji was very deep in his spirituality, and he was seeing his own soul in this manner. And that's what he has explained here also. So we must never under any condition sacrifice virtues like restraint for the sake of the body. I find bliss in both outcomes. If the body remains, I shall continue to practice Shuddhopyog, pure soul focused absorption. And if the body perishes, I shall continue that same practice in the next existence. So for him, if you describe this kind, we also feel that we are not going to die. Okay. Only the body will change. Okay. But our spiritual journey will continue in the next birth also. In both cases, I see no obstacle to my pursuit of pure awareness, that is Shuddhopyog. So why should turmoil arise in my state of consciousness? These thoughts expressed in the prose of Pandit Gumani Ramji reflects his deep study and his most intense spiritual inclination. He was a man of profound personality and serious temperament. He witnessed with his own eyes all that transpired with Pandit Todarmalji, his father. He was uh, killed by crushing under the legs of elephant, just because he has written in the 5th chapter of Moksha Marg Prakasak, the faults of other religions. And other religions people, scholars propagated the king, and he was awarded a death sentence. Okay. So he knew all these things, and that had a deeply formative impact on his own inner development. Okay. So I am reading it now, 7-8 minutes remaining. So let's finish up to page number 13. So next week we can complete this. Building on this very composition of Gumani Ramji, Pandit Budjanji later composed a work titled Samadhi Shatak in Padma meter. Budjanji is the very one who first composed the work titled Chedala, 6 verses, which Pandit Daulat Ramji has mentioned in the eulogy of his own Chedala. So Pandit Daulat Ramji was inspired by Pandit Budjanji's Chedala, which was written earlier. Okay. Budjanji himself writes, having seen the prose form work of Gumani Ramji, I of limited intellect composed these verses with great modesty. I have not studied grammar, prosody, and the like. Being of such childlike intellect, I composed these verses with the thought of making them easy to memorize. Note, though the word doha is used here, it is in the general sense of chand. Not all verses in the work are strictly in doha meter. So meter is nothing but a kind of expressing or expressing the chand, a certain way of expressing the chand. Until now in life, it was that the association would leave us and go away. But in death, it is we who leave behind the association and go away. In life, we stay where we are, while wife, children, and other companions move away from us. But at the time of death, all these companions remain in their place, and we alone depart, leaving them all behind. It is essentially the same, yet there is a key difference. In life, these separations happen only one by one, not all at once. One leaves, another arrives. When parents pass on, son and daughter arrive. The sorrow of separation is present even then, but it occurs gradually, one at a time. But in death, all associations, all of them are severed simultaneously. That makes the experience qualitatively different. Even though all the associations of this life are being left behind, the association of the next life are all full ready. It is possible that due to the force of our accumulated merit, those forthcoming associations may be even better than the current ones. But the difficulty is if we do not know that for certain, and that uncertainty is what intensifies the sorrow. If our life has been pure, noble, sacred, and filled with dharma, then the associations of the next birth are guaranteed to be superior to the present ones, and they cannot be attained without letting go of the current ones. Therefore, there should be no hesitation in relinquishing present associations. However, due to our deeply ingrained oneness and mindness, we find ourselves unable to part with them. Remember, without dying, heaven is not attainable. If one desires heaven, one must be prepared to let go of these worldly ties. In the context, the thoughts of the poet Surachandraji are worth noting. At this moment, the friend in the form of death is your benefactor. In exchange for the worn out, dilapidated body, it gives you an entirely new one. There is no benefactor or noble giver comparable to this. All these statements brings comfort to a person who has undertaken samadhi, because we have seen the transgressions. Okay, so all these statements give comfort to the person who is undergoing samadhi. He knows that this body has already worn out. This will go away and I'll get a new body which will be very fresh. And the associations that I will get here, there is no Tirthankar, there are no monks right now. Even we are not in touch with any true monks. Okay, but in the next association, we may get a Samosaran, we may get true monks. Okay, even if we land up in heaven, we will end up in higher heavens because we have done all this life the sadhana. So from there we can go to the Nandishwar Deep and do puja over there. So all these statements are just to relax you, the one who is taking a samadhi. Therefore, at the occasion of death, one should celebrate. One should abandon the feeling of distress and adopt the state of equanimity. The fruits of the merit you have accumulated in the past, the happiness yielding wealth of heaven, how could they be obtained without death? Therefore, O brother, regard this death as a friend that grants you the wealth of heaven. O dear one, without letting go of this present body and family, even liberation cannot be attained. If you remain clinging to this body and its associates, then neither heaven nor liberation will be yours. Therefore, wisdom lies in this: accept the process of this transfer, the changing of bodies, gracefully through Samadhi Maran. For the wise and the virtuous, death is a simple and natural event, nothing extraordinary, because they hold firm faith. If these associations are departing, better ones are sure to follow in the future. Moreover, they have no particular craving for associations. For them, this transformation is just an ordinary occurrence. But this ignorant world, due to its sense of ownership, becomes intensely restless even at the thought of such separation. Secondly, ignorant people also lack faith in their own merit. They have not cultivated virtuous thoughts. So from where will punya even arise? They think, if I lose this association, who knows where I will go, perhaps to hell or Nigod. So they desperately cling on to these same associations. Excessive attachment to association is the root cause of the fear of death. If there is not even the slightest sense of ownership towards the association, then what indeed has the Atma lost? For the innumerable space points and infinite attributes of the Atma always accompany it. For those associations towards which there is no sense of ownership, whatever may happen to them, it makes no difference to us. But for those associations in which ownership arises, their separation causes sorrow. Thus, it is certainly that ownership towards the non-self is the cause of infinite sorrow. Hence, it is conclusively established the feeling of ownership towards the non-self is the root cause of endless sorrow. So here we end. Our time is also over. Okay. So this is lecture number 5. Okay. So we will continue. There are total 28 pages. So we have completed 13. So in the next class, we will finish the balance 15 pages and complete this topic. Okay. So these are all very simple. This is a self-study subject. You can always read yourself also. But I know that people generally don't study on their own. So I've taken it up in the class. And we also learned few good things about Samadhi Maran. Okay. So after the age of 50, one should start planning for Samadhi Maran. Every day one thought should arise. Okay. This will create in you a feeling of detachment. Okay. Detachment towards sensual pleasures, detachment towards passions. All these will help you. Okay. So Samadhi Maran is a very good topic to understand, and not only to understand, but to practice at the time of death also. Okay. And the essence lies in practicing Samadhi throughout the life. So the one who practices Samadhi throughout the life ultimately gets a Samadhi Maran. Okay. So with this we end this today's class, and next class we will continue. निज निधि निज में बताई यह अनंत उपकार है, उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना सत बार है, उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना